Happy Friday, everyone. What's going on? Hope y'all are having a great day, and welcome to Greg Balls of Fire. We are up here to predict WWE Payback and AEW All Out, big Labor Day weekend of wrestling, and we got two big pay-per-views to predict. Neither card is really that awe-inspiring, but I think both have potential. Both Payback and All Out, I think, can really deliver here, even though All Out seems a little bit more of a mess. We even have one match that we're not even really sure is going to happen or not. CM Punk's status for All Out apparently is still up for question, up for debate. He may or may not be on the show, so we have no match to predict for him. But hopefully we'll know more by the time we get tomorrow night, tomorrow night on Collision in the United Center. As for tonight, most of the WWE Payback card is set, but SmackDown goes live in 2 hours, and we have the return tonight of John Cena. He's booked for several weeks of TV here in WWE. He's been freed up because of the writer's strike, and he's able to come in and do some business. And there is talk of him actually being the guest host for Payback on Saturday, tomorrow. So they might set that up tonight, and John Cena being on the show is going to be fun. It's going to be good to see him back, and he's going to be on TV now, setting up a program. We don't know who he's going to work with. I'd like to see him get his win back over Austin Theory, maybe even win that U.S. title, or possibly work with Cody Rhodes. We'll see what happens. Hopefully that stuff will get kicked off tonight on SmackDown. Cody tomorrow, of course, has got a segment on the Grayson Waller effect, so that might be a spot where we see Cena and Cody interact again. That might be fun, but some of those questions might be answered tonight as we get John Cena back for the next couple of months. That's really exciting. So we've got SmackDown tonight. We have Payback tomorrow, and unfortunately, I'm not going to be here for tomorrow's Payback. I'm not going to be able to watch the show. I have to be at work. It's Labor Day weekend. It's huge. We got the Pacific Classic in town. We do a lot of business for that. And I just have to be there tomorrow. There's really no way out of it. So what I have planned instead of seeing me tomorrow night after the pay-per-view for a review, you're going to get a whole lot of Greg on Sunday. First thing we're going to do is Sunday afternoon, before All Out. We're going to do this at 5 o'clock Eastern, 2 Pacific here on the West Coast. I'm going to come up here and do a live review of Saturday night's Payback. So we'll do a Payback review, except instead of after the pay-per-view, I'm going to be doing it on Sunday instead. Then we'll take like a 2-hour break on Sunday, and we will come back and do a watch party for AEW All Out. I'm going to order the pay-per-view, kick back, and just watch it with you guys. I thought it would be better to do a hangout than trying to do 2 back-to-back reviews. Plus, we usually do our watch-alongs on Sundays anyway, and we weren't here doing last week for All In, so I figured 2 birds with 1 stone. Big doubleheader, mucho hours of Greg on Sunday, but unfortunately, you're just not going to get me tomorrow after the pay-per-view. So that's the plan. Monday night is Labor Day. I will not be home because I have dinner plans with my family, so no Raw review that night, but I may or may not be planning a birthday stream on Wednesday, so just stay tuned for that. I got to see what my plans are, but that might be the plan for the soon-to-be 46-year-old bald guy sitting right here on Wednesday night. So that's still up in the air, but this weekend you're going to get a whole lot of me specifically on Sunday. So just keep that in mind. The links to all this stuff, by the way, is already up on the channel, so you have both links for Sunday are there. You can click them, save them, hold them until Sunday, and we will be up here to talk about both of these pay-per-views, reviewing Payback and watching All Out together. On tap for today, we are going to get into some wrestling news. We're going to talk about the latest in the CM Punk Jack Perry drama. There's even more shit coming out about this. Since we've last spoken, CM Punk was honored at the Cauliflower Alley Club on Wednesday. We've had some more reports from Fightful Select, from Meltzer, about various eyewitness accounts of the incident, but it is also being reported that this shit is on film, which, if you guys remember, I mentioned in my review. I'm like, in WWE, it seems like everything that takes place at Gorilla is filmed because we see so much of it in documentaries. It's like there's always a camera rolling back there. And for a show this big, I find it very hard to believe that there wasn't a camera, a production guy, nobody with their phone out that caught any of this stuff. But apparently it was on video. So whatever they have to investigate, I don't know. If you're right there, standing right there, and the shit's on video, it ain't the fucking OJ trial. Just watch the video and make a goddamn ruling. So they need to figure that out. It's kind of screwed up their all-out plans a little bit. They didn't have their best roster or their best foot forward on Wednesday for Dynamite either. But I was pleasantly surprised with the main event promo of Orange Cassidy, and he's got his big match on Sunday against Jon Moxley. So lots to talk about in the Punk Perry situation. Like I said, we'll talk about a little bit about John Cena as well. Tony Khan did the All Out media call yesterday. Not a whole lot of information coming out on that either. And we'll preview tonight's SmackDown. We'll preview Saturday's Collision. I'm probably not going to talk too much about Wednesday's Dynamite. Just anything you guys want me to discuss, we will. And then we will predict Payback, which according to my count, I have 6 matches plus Cody's segment on Waller. And then for All Out, I believe we've got 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I got 9 matches listed for All Out. That's a lot, even without that CM Punk match. And with a lot of these matches kind of being thrown, I wouldn't say thrown together, but kind of not a whole lot of time to build them, specifically that 8-man tag with the Young Bucks and FTR. They set that whole thing up at All In after the match when Bucks didn't shake FTR's hand, and they approached him in the locker room, what the fuck, man, didn't shake our hand, and then next thing you know, we got an 8-man. So that type of stuff is going on here, and it doesn't look like it's going to change because I think Tony Khan wants this to continue. I thought this was just unfortunate circumstances. They nailed down the Wembley date, but then they had All Out on the calendar on Labor Day. Tony Khan wants to keep All Outs on Labor Day. He wants to continue to do that. And next year, he's going to be doing it again because I think Wembley is August 25th. So that's going to be right before, probably the Sunday before, All Out again. So this seems to be on purpose. I thought this was going to be something that they had to deal with this year. They realized how difficult it was, not do it again. I don't like the back-to-back thing. I think that presents way too many problems. But if that's the booking catastrophe that Tony Khan and booking challenge that Tony Khan wants to take on, then more power to him. I just, as a fan, I feel like that's not the way I would want it. But whatevs, we'll see how they do next year for All In and All Out. And hopefully, by the time we get to next year, which will now be the 2-year mark of when all of the bullshit started, hopefully we can be in a little bit better of a place in AEW because of all of the nonsense that's been going on there for the past year. And I was really hoping as a fan, and I'm always way too optimistic, it's to a fault, and I admit that, but I was really hoping that All In would kind of be the one show that would wash away all of the bullshit from the past year, because regardless of who you hate and like backstage or whatever personal issues you have with each other, you know, looking out into a sea of humanity of 80,000 people and know that all you guys did that together. You know, I might at least temporarily put my bullshit personal issues aside for that one night just to appreciate the special moment that we've done here. Jungle Boy opted not to do that. CM Punk, reactionary, yes, but he also opted not to do that. But one could argue if Jack wouldn't opened up his mouth, then Punk would have just gone out with his match for Samoa Joe and none of this crap would have ever happened. But it's embarrassing that it happened. It's still embarrassing when I think about it, that dark cloud still continues to hang over the heads of AEW, largely in part because they don't really have a whole lot of, sound structure back there. And nobody seems to fear Tony Khan. He doesn't strike that fear the way Vince did and stuff. And that's just been causing problems. So we'll talk about the latest there and what that means and how it's going to affect All Out and, the card for this Sunday. But I still think the wrestling that we're going to get is going to be pretty good because there's a lot of good matches here, interesting ones, and ones that I think if they wanted to, they could do really fun finishes. And I'm specifically interested in that Orange Cassidy and Jon Moxley match. So hopefully AEW can at some point get their asses back on track. I put up on Twitter an hour or so ago. I was thinking about Samoa Joe because I was reading some of the Jack Perry and CM Punk more accounts coming in from Meltzer and whatnot. And you've heard a couple of times, we've read a couple of times that Samoa Joe was right there and helped break everything up and calm CM Punk down, talk him off the ledge, that type of stuff. You know, and I was thinking about Samoa Joe when he came back to NXT and he was like William Regal's enforcer. Tony Khan needs to have Joe be that in real life for him, because I think Joe is respected. Joe is somebody that can step in there and yell at you if he has to. And Joe is, in his 40s now. He's, how much longer is he really going to be in the ring? I think he should be involved in wrestling forever. And if he turns into be, if he turns out to have like a career beyond the ring, I would love for him to have some sort of an authority role in AEW. Tony Khan needs an enforcer. He needs somebody to crack heads. He is clearly not that guy. And maybe a former wrestler is. I think part of the problem in AEW and one of the reasons why we see the problems that we see is because there is no Undertaker there. I thought Wrestlers Court was fucking stupid, but in a lot of ways it did keep the wrestlers kind of in line because they knew they were going to have to answer to their own roster if they did not. The wrestling court stories make me barf when I hear about them, but they were kind of effective a little bit in keeping the talent in line. Granted, you're going to have backstage fights and incidents and whatnot, but you definitely need some veterans to be there when Jungle Boy says, you know what, man, I'm going to go out there and say something on camera. And then, they're a bad idea, kid. Do not do that. Do not do that. But nobody told him that because everybody's fucking idiots there. I don't know. So that story, whenever I read more about it, just makes me more and more frustrated because I'm like, how can you let this shit happen? But anyway, we'll discuss that, and we will be predicting pay-per-views today. So let me go over here to the chat, say hello. By the way, if you could smash that thumbs up button for me, I would really, really appreciate it. If you would like to become a member, there is information in the description below on that. And please subscribe to the channel. We are on the road to 40,000 subscribers. We are at 39K plus. We should be there pretty soon as long as y'all keep subscribing when you see me and discover me. So if you can do that, I would very much appreciate it. Thank you for being here, and happy almost weekend to you. Let's shout out our friends in the chat. Let's start with members like Stephen Taylor, like Zane G, my friend. Chris Miner is in the house. Have you watched The Bear? Perfect show for you. No, I haven't, but you're not the first person that's told me, Greg, you should watch The Bear. I don't know what The Bear is. I don't even know what it's about. Is it about a bear? I don't know. Stone Cold 10X is here as well. We got the Juliet in the house, and George Morris, Michael Cuomo, Deshaun Robinson, Stone Cold 10X, Zach Palgett, Financial Truth Academy, just to knock out some of those early channel members. And Tomas Aridia, good to see him, my friend. Appreciate that $9.99. I don't know if I told you, but I actually met Jack Perry at WrestleCon in passing. I saw him there too. He was kind of rude when all I asked was, how are you, while waiting for Anna Jay to return? Tired of Punk, though, wish he'd go away. That's a loaded chat. We're going to be talking about Punk here in just a second and how I kind of agree, that he should go away, even though this specific situation wasn't one that he necessarily started. His presence is just causing so many problems, but we'll be talking about that in a minute. I did see Jack at WrestleCon. I think they were kind of sitting near Britt Baker and Adam Cole, who I loved, who were sweethearts to me. But when I walked past them a few times, Jack just was not doing much. He was just sitting there. He didn't look like he was really having a blast. And I also met him on the Jericho Cruise. Now, this is way early on in AEW's existence. They'd only been on TV for a couple of months. They did a Dynamite there. And Jack was even younger than he is now. And when we did the meet and greet with Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, and Marco Stunt, Luchasaurus and Marco were fantastic, and Jungle Boy was a little dickish. Like, I'm not going to lie, like he actually was. I said something like, I forgot what I said. We're all kind of like shuffling around. Elizabeth's with me, and they're there. I think Marco Stunt commented on Elizabeth's shirt that she really liked it, and they're talking. I'm like, where should I stand? And Jungle Boy's, wherever you want, or whatever. And kind of like a dig. I'm like, well, I'm just asking, dude. Where do you want me to be? I don't know what the fuck I do here, So that type of thing. I've heard those stories before, but I'm not going to just start, if you hear something and then just start piling on the guy. Jack Perry is. I've never heard anything that bad about him, other than your maybe unpleasant experience in mine. I don't think that's really enough to go on to, just classify the dude as a dick, but he wasn't very nice to me either, to be honest, Tomas. But the Punk stuff, just the fact that he's involved in every one of these situations makes you wonder how much of that money you're paying him is worth it, and that's why sometimes it's great if a promoter has experience being a lifelong wrestling fan, and this is one of the downsides of it too. So it's just life. Good to see Steve and Jacobson and David Brown. Decimania is in the house. Old Dirty Sausage is here. Dennis is on Collision. Definitely an interesting move. I'll tell you something about Saturday night's Collision. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat is also booked for Collision. Now, for all of you old school wrestling fans, let's think about this for a second. Where is Collision on Saturday night? What building? The United Center. What basketball team played in the United Center? The Chicago Bulls. What song did the Chicago Bulls use during their entrance? Alan Parsons Project. What song did Ricky the Dragon Steamboat use in WWE? Same song. Tony Khan. You gotta pony up for that. He pays for everything. He paid for Queen and fucking Metallica last Sunday. You can pay for this one. Let's get that song playing in the United Center when Ricky the Dragon Steamboat comes out. The only problem is Dennis Rodman is also going to be on Collision. So they're bringing Dennis in, maybe to boost some ticket sales for the United Center, since it's not looking like CM Punk is going to be there. So Dennis is coming in back on TNT since the WCW days. We just watched that Bash at the Beach from '98 just a couple of weeks ago, right here on this channel. That match took place right here in San Diego, right down the road at the Viejas, where I attended Dynamite a few weeks ago. So Rodman coming in on Saturday is interesting, but I'm more interested in Tony Khan using that song for at least Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Would be awesome if they did that. He has to, right? So that's interesting about Dennis. He's coming in. Good to see Alex Dredge. Big MGM is here. Rodrigo and George Morris, my friend with the token $5. Good to see you, my friend. Hey, Greg, how are you doing? How is Tito? Payback looks very weak. Started vacation today. Are you ready for the NFL season? Bears, Packers, Week 1. Yeah, Payback and All Out, and neither one of them look great, but I kind of have a feeling that the talent is what's going to come through for us here. Even though on paper, maybe these cards aren't dazzling, I just think, the cards are loaded with great talent, and I think all of them are going to deliver. But definitely kind of feels like a weaker weekend of pay-per-views from both companies, to be honest. Glad you started your vacation. That makes me happy for you. I am not ready for the NFL season. Guess what? I got roped into fantasy again. Our draft is Monday night. I already have a bad attitude about it. I already don't want to do it. I already know that I'm going to half-ass my draft and not set my lineup and come in fucking last place because I've just completely lost the desire and the love and the interest in fantasy football. But they needed me to fill a league, and come on. It's only $100. Just do it. And I'm like, fine, fuck. So I'm just throwing my money away because I've won several championships in the league that I'm in. I've won 3 times, but I just really haven't cared. I don't know. I just really got sick of fantasy football a few years ago and just kind of gave it up. It was almost like a light bulb. It was just like 1 year. I'm like, I'm done. I'm sick of worrying about this. I'm sick of watching games, worrying about having a guy getting a touchdown or getting a certain amount of yards or completing enough passes for me to get enough points. I fucking hate that. So I don't want to do it. So now I'm roped into it again. I'm just going to, if I go 0-2 or 0-3, I'm just going to leave my lineup and just eat the losses because I just don't want to do it. But I'm going to try. I'm going to draft properly and set my lineup properly for the first couple of weeks. But if I start hating it, I'm going to tap out and just let myself be last. I do not like fantasy, and I'm kind of pissed that I have to do it again, if you can't tell. Who else is here? We got Sonic Plays in the house. Shell Shock, Brian, Ben. Good to see you. Just say no, Greg. I can't, Brian. I'm too nice. Who knows? Maybe I can. Sometimes I ask you guys for help. I might even just auto draft my team. I don't fucking care. I'm so out of the loop and who's good and who I should pick and who the sleepers are. Like, I'm just not the guy for that anymore. Back in the day, before YouTube, dominated, the second half of my life, I had more time for that stuff, but just don't anymore. Corey Mitchell, you too. Anybody else that's chiming in, good to see you. Happy Friday to you if I don't smack my mic. Happy Friday afternoon to you. Hope you guys enjoy SmackDown tonight. First, we got to get into some wrestling news, and then we will predict these 2 pay-per-views. Let's start with our friends, the latest on Jungle Jack and CM Punk. Now, CM Punk was actually honored at the Cauliflower Alley Club on Wednesday, receiving the Iron Mike Mazurki Award. He had a big speech. The whole speech can be found online on YouTube. Very nice acceptance speech, name dropping a lot of guys, Brody Lee and Bray Wyatt and Jay Briscoe and Roddy Piper, Dusty Rhodes, Tracy Smothers, Eddie Guerrero, Harley Race. I think he even mentioned Triple H, which is kind of interesting. Remember CM Punk went to go visit WWE and apparently spoke to Triple H just a couple of months ago before he returned. And considering how sick of this place he is in AEW, he might be looking to go back to the E. He might actually, I think it's really likely now we might see CM Punk in some capacity in the WWE in the future. Maybe just coming in and being a manager or a play-by-play guy when his wrestling career is done. It feels like he is mad or pissed off or something. He might just go to WWE just to spite AEW. But the fact that he took time out of that, or the fact that he mentioned Triple H in that speech specifically, just read between the lines there. I thought that was really interesting, but you can check that out if you want to online. He was taking pictures. There were some pictures of him hanging out with Ron Simmons and JBL. I'm going to read you a report from Fightful Select that they posted yesterday about this. CM Punk was at the Cauliflower Alley Club this week, seemingly in a very good mood. He accepted his honor and took tons of pictures with fans and other wrestlers. Punk and Miro had been in contact since the rumors of their argument took place. And if you remember that, in the midst of the millions of different stories about this, we heard that Punk and Miro had words, and then it kind of came out that it was all kind of a joke. Hey, you want to take this outside? Yeah, that type of thing. So doesn't seem like there's any real heat there, although Miro has been cryptic a couple of times with what he's tweeted. But it does sound like those two are, they have no issue with each other. And that's probably good news for Punk. If I was Punk, I would stay away. I would not make the big guys mad. Fightful's report goes on to say, however, in the days prior, AEW did in fact launch the investigation into the CM Punk and Jack Perry altercation. We've been told that they have been collecting statements and interviews about the nature of what happened. We're told there is footage of the incident, as there are cameras all over Wembley. In addition, we've learned that Punk and Tony Khan had an interaction that was described as contentious, but little context is provided. Now, Dave Meltzer would provide some context on this as well in the latest Observer, mentioning that after Jack and Punk were pulled apart, that Punk lunged for Tony Khan before being restrained, and monitors were knocked over and shit. So Tony Khan was front, dead, and center here. And then in the Fightful report says that there's footage of this. And that was what I said in the review. I'm like, how did this not get filmed? Because we see on big shows, at least in WWE, they got cameras rolling at Gorilla the entire time. They use all that shit in the documentaries. We've seen endless amounts of footage from back there, and they don't just turn the cameras on when they need it. They're probably running the whole time, and you would think with a show like this for AEW and any backstage documentaries or bullshit that they're doing, there's gotta be cameras that close to the ring. There's gotta be wrestlers with their phones. The Bucks do BTE. Or they do Being the Elite. They're not nearby with their cameras and shit. Brandon Cutler's not around there doing his thing or whatever. So I was really surprised that we didn't hear that initially, that this thing was on film. But apparently it is. So when you read things like AEW is launching an investigation and talking to witnesses to piece together what happened, the camera will piece that together for you. I think it's pretty obvious. Now, in the latest Observer, Meltzer had a couple of reports on this as well, and it felt like one was kind of from more of a Jack Perry side, and one was from like a neutral source. And there was kind of various interpretations of it, but it definitely sounds like the commonality here is that they came face to face, a punch was thrown, and the choke seems to be consistent. So face to face, punch, choke, that all seems relatively consistent when you read all of the different variations of this story from the various people who have reported it. And this new report from Meltzer is the one that suggested that Punk lunged in Tony Khan's direction before being restrained, and Samoa Joe played a big part in calming Punk down. And I wasn't sure about Punk and Joe either. I was maybe wondering if there was a little bit of heat there, because I was putting myself in Samoa Joe's shoes. And I'm about to go out there for this match. I'm standing right next to my opponent before we go out there, and then all this shit breaks down. And now he's yelling and screaming that he wants to quit, possibly compromising the company, possibly leaving again with that title now with an X drawn on it. And I have to go out there and lose to this guy on a night that this very well could be. I have to go out to that match now knowing that what just took place back there might result in Punk's departure from the company. This might be his last match, and I got to go out there and lose to him clean. Again, because before Punk lost last time, he beat Moxley, right? Why does this keep happening? So I was thinking about it from Joe's perspective. I'm like, I'd be really pissed if I was Joe. You're going to leave and you're going to beat me on the way out the door. What the hell did I ever do to you? No type of thing. He probably had no problem doing the job, but if he thinks Punk might be leaving, I might be a little bit pissed about having a job. But you wouldn't know it from the match. They went out there, worked hard, bled, and all of that. And then after the match, I think it was the next day or maybe later on that night, Samoa Joe had kind of a cryptic tweet about friendships. I don't remember the exact quote now, but friendships that are, personal and special, and others that view as that some view as a commodity, something like that. Basically hinting at the fact that CM Punk might just view his friendship as a commodity. It's just good for me to be friends with him. Maybe there's really no love or care there. That's kind of the way I had maybe interpreted it. So I'm like, I wonder if Samoa Joe is pissed at CM Punk. But there was a photo that surfaced of the two of them backstage with the referee, clearly after the match, because Punk has blood on his face. So it sounds like they're cool with each other, but probably there is a little bit of frustration or eye rolling on Samoa Joe's side. I wish my friend would stop doing this shit. That's kind of the way it felt like there. And that's why when I said earlier, I got to thinking about Samoa Joe earlier on, how he is really a respected guy, seems to be very level-headed, but also seems like somebody who's no nonsense. Imagine if Tony Khan had Samoa Joe's body and presence and attitude, but the same amount of money and the same amount of love for pro wrestling, but just with Samoa Joe's physical presence. I think talent would think twice about going into business for themselves on camera or shooting off at the mouth if they know they have this guy with a zero tolerance policy for this shit coming after it. Throw a bunch of money at Brock Lesnar and hire him as the guy or whatever. But I think Samoa Joe would be great. And like I said, I've talked about this before with Tony Khan. I mean, if he wants to be a wrestling promoter, we don't know the proper way to do this. Wrestling promoters have been all sorts of different varying personalities and ideas and philosophies and all that stuff. And some have been good, some have been shit. So we don't really know what the correct formula is. But when you think back to a formula that we're familiar with, like Vince McMahon had a circle. Vince McMahon had Patterson, and he had Briscoe. He had a Bruce, a Kevin Dunn even, guys like that, and a Triple H. And when you look at AEW right now, if I'm Tony Khan, this is just Greg speculating here. If I'm looking at the roster and I'm looking at my aging roster, people who like working here, like me, like the company, want to see it grow, there's two specific people I'm looking at. One I'm so-so about, but I think he would do a good job, and one I'm really on board with, and that's Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe would be a great enforcer, the person to lay down the law here, to be that Undertaker in the locker room, but, maybe more of an executive role, coming in with a suit. Maybe once his wrestling career is finished, or he can kind of do a combination of both, work in Ring of Honor, but be an executive or a head smasher in AEW behind the scenes, somebody there to enforce Tony Khan's rules. And I think he should have a meeting with the talent at the very soonest possible date and say, from now on, zero tolerance. You never go out there and look at the camera and say anything that's not fucking approved. You do that, you're fired, you're fined, you're suspended. It's going to be bad. Don't fucking do it. And Joe being the one to enforce this stuff might help. Chris Jericho is another guy. I've always thought that Chris Jericho could be Tony Khan's Triple H, where he could have a role similar to Triple H in the company. And I think Jericho would probably be good at that. And I think Samoa Joe would be good at that. And if Tony Khan can create, and we know Tony Khan loves Bryan Danielson, he's been a big part of creative as well, so those are three pretty good wrestling minds, if you ask me, Jericho, Danielson, and Samoa Joe. If Tony Khan was able to create his circle of people that he trusted, of people that he knew was going to be with him for the long term and had AEW's best interest at heart, and I'm paying them accordingly, to do this. I think that could be something that Tony Khan needs to do, but then you do run the risk of, still with a lot of politics and red tape, you just have to get personalities in your circle that aren't going to play to too much of that politics and are going to understand and recognize that some of the BS the talent is trying to do, they fucking invented. And that's, that's why parents are good parents, because a lot of times when your kids lie, you look at them and say, hey, I used to tell the same fucking lie. You're not fooling anyone. So that might be something Tony Khan needs to do. I know he's got good people back there. He's got, Pat Bucks, and he's got plenty of good agents and road agents and everything, but it just needs to be a little bit more firm and stronger back there. And, maybe be a boss that everybody likes to work for, but you still have to, lead with an iron fist sometimes as well. And I just think there needs to be some balance more than anything, because I think if you improve that would curb some of these things. And that's why I kind of floated the idea of maybe Tony Khan having a meeting with people and saying, all right, CM Punk and Jack Perry, I'm letting you both off completely scot-free for this, but this is the last time. The reason this happened is because I allowed it. The reason it happened is because you guys thought you could get away with it because of my leadership. So that ends now. Neither one of you are in trouble. I'm putting the blame on myself. This is my fault. This is my fuck up. And from here on out, this is no longer going to happen. And just lay down the law, and I mentioned that too, but at the end of the day, if CM Punk is defiant and he just, is pissed and doesn't want to be there, and he can mouth off to Tony Khan and stuff, how firm would that meeting really be? What good would that meeting do if nobody really takes you seriously anyway? So there are some problems there in this company for sure. And the news that this whole thing was filmed. Just watch the tape, man. And I think we've talked about all the different scenarios, but I think the one thing that most people agree on is that based on most of the accounts, it does sound like Punk approached Perry first. And like I said in my last 2 podcasts, who can really kind of blame him for that? If you are in Punk's shoes, I'm still pissed that either guy took away from this big show to do this shit at all. But if you're CM Punk and you're right there and you're watching this little asshole say that to the camera, and then he's coming back through the curtain, of course he's going to say something to him, and it just got out of hand. But it shouldn't have happened at all. So Punk approaching Perry first, it sounds like that's really what happened, but I don't really think that one could blame him. I mentioned in the review, I said, if CM Punk really is the veteran and the leader that he claims to be, a cooler head person, maybe somebody who's not straight edge, who enjoys a little bit of indica every now and then, might be a little bit more chill about this and say, okay, I am pissed at that little fucking prick for what he did, but if I confront him right now, I'm going to cause a huge catastrophe. It's going to get leaked, and then it's going to take away from what we've all accomplished here. That's what a veteran leader, that's the thought process that a veteran leader should have. But Punk didn't have that thought process, did he? No. So do 2 wrongs make a right? No, of course not. But I think that both parties acted ridiculous, and they both should have known better. And this shit in AEW needs to tighten up. It just needs to tighten up. But at what point, there's been the talk this week too, the debate of, is AEW better off with CM Punk? Without CM Punk, excuse me. Is AEW better off without CM Punk? And I hate to say yes. Do you think it gives me joy and brings me joy to say yes, this company would be better off without CM Punk? No, it brings me no joy whatsoever to say that. I want CM Punk in AEW. I want him doing things there. I was intrigued with spraying the X on the title and seeing where that could go. But at some point, you just have to realize that his presence there is doing more damage than anything else. It's just constant turmoil. It's constant drama. And it's not like this is an isolated thing where he's just one piece of talent that came in and had all these problems. This is CM Punk who's brought this reputation with him. It already existed before he got there, because if not, I might be on all these people who are just, extremely, extremely anti-elite. Because here's another thing. I'll tell you this. I definitely agree with Punk's political views over the Young Bucks any day of the fucking week, but that doesn't mean I don't think CM Punk is, a little bit in the wrong here, and he's a little bit difficult to work with, and his presence just seems to bring nothing but turmoil no matter where he is. This entire reputation that he has followed him from territory to territory, company to company. It's always been there. He acknowledged it in his Cauliflower Alley Award on Wednesday. If you've worked with me, I'm sure I've rubbed you the wrong way before. He even knows this. So the fact that these things keep happening, Punk should be an asset to this company. Punk should be there to help grow this company. But instead, a lot of these headlines that have been Punk related over the past year have not painted AEW in a good light. And this is a company that wants to have confidence from its networks. Warner Brothers Discovery has been very good to AEW. It sounds like they plan on keeping them around for the long haul. But if Tony Khan can't keep his roster together where shit's crumbling down and they start losing big pieces of TV shows that the network is expecting to be there, because that's another thing you got to think of from Tony Khan's perspective. It's not like he can just make all his decisions and do whatever the fuck he wants. There's a whole lot of other factors you have to consider. One of those is that TNT expected and wanted CM Punk to be on Collision. So now Tony Khan's he's in a position now where he's going to have to, adhere to Punk's demands or do whatever he can to get him back in. So the networks are happy. It's a tight spot. It's not as easy as just saying, oh, he's got to go. I think Tony Khan can do that, but then, then they got to re-edit that Collision intro again. And then what are you going to do with the belt with the X on it? How are you going to rectify all that? Are you really going to be able to convince CM Punk to do the right thing and drop this belt that he doesn't really hold anyway before he leaves? I feel like, if Punk's going to leave the company, he at least needs to come out there and do a job to a friend of his. You pick the opponent. It's like Brett before he left for WCW. Brett always says, I offered to drop an Undertaker and all these guys. Let Punk do that. Pick who you want to fight and get squashed by. Remember when Moxley squashed him last year right before All Out and won the interim title or whatever. That was awesome. I wish that was the last match. Have that happen to CM Punk. Give that to Ricky Starks. Give it to Amiro. Give it to a rematch with Samoa Joe and do it there. And and leave the right way. At least leave to where you're not doing too much damage to the company on the way out. But if CM Punk is pissed and he felt like he's been done wrong there this entire time with AEW, by AEW, what's his motivation going to be to do that? So it's a nasty, sticky, ugly situation that we still have no resolution on. By the way, yesterday, Tony Khan did do the all-out media call. And of course, he was asked about this whole situation. He says he can't comment on anything. He's awaiting the investigation. Apparently, he was standing right there. He's the investigation. You're the eyewitness. Weren't you standing there? What did you see? What does your brain tell you to do? Do that. He hopes that Punk will be at All Out, but he's not sure. And he kind of asks, please bear with us as we figure this out. And that sucks that we have to bear with them. That sucks that they have to figure something out. That sucks that they have to tell their audience, hey, bear with us while we try to clean up this disgusting mess going on backstage, while Tony Khan, who's already wearing enough fucking hats as it is, with the lead booker and owning a couple of other sports teams and all these things he's doing, any of this crap that he has to deal with takes away from his ability to properly book, pay-per-views and TV and all of that. So there needs to be more structure in AEW. There needs to be way more authority. There needs to be, an idea in the locker room that you can't just go out there and do anything, and there will be consequences. And Tony Khan needs to take whatever steps. I don't know what they are. I don't know what the proper ones are. The idea of a Jericho and Samoa Joe and Danielson inner circle sounds great in theory, but who knows if that would even work. So they need to work on this shit back there. And if they were to remove CM Punk from the equation completely, I think the locker room would grow and heal. There was one of the reports from Meltzer that said something to the effect of, most of the locker room took that incident as motivation to go out there and have the best matches they can last Sunday. And, when I showed Elizabeth All In the other night, we were watching the whole thing, and she was, we were both talking about just how impressive Will Ospreay looks. Loved his entrance, loved his look, his vibe. He feels like a big star. When you see him, when you got him, what do you need Jared? What do you need Punk for? I know his contract is up in a little while, but if I'm Tony Khan, I'm throwing everything at him because I think WWE might make him a solid offer too, and he's going to be huge anywhere. But if I'm Tony Khan, I'm trying to, he's 30 years old, man. I'm getting him. I'm getting some youth, and Kenny has even reached that second tier of life in that later stage of his career. You gotta land Ospreay. Because, the Danielsons and the Kennys and stuff and the Punks are only going to last so long, and I think Ospreay should be the guy. He reminds me a lot of AJ when he was 30 years old, so I specifically think that guys like him, there's plenty of people. Jay White is in the company now. There's so much talent there that can be booked on top in main events. Adam Cole and MJF, I thought, did a phenomenal job at the pay-per-view. They're definitely going to be picking up a win on Sunday in that tag match as well. So they have plenty of talent there. And like I said in the All In review, take that Samoa Joe and CM Punk match out of the equation. Just remove it from the card. The success of All In was not hinging on that match at all. That there would have been 81,000 people there with or without Samoa Joe versus CM Punk on the card, because most of those tickets were sold before that match was even announced. So it wasn't even crucial to the card or anything like that. So the people that say, even though I don't want to admit it because I don't dislike CM Punk, I do like him. I just think he's got some serious fucking issues. I think that maybe just it's the best thing for him to not be in this company. Maybe CM Punk still has some mileage in pro wrestling. Then go back to WWE. Go back to WWE. Get in the ring with some of the studs they got running around there right now. See if you can keep up. Otherwise, you make a great manager. You make a great play-by-play guy. You make a great personality in the company. If you can finally find peace, with everything that drove you nuts about them when you were there previously, and maybe come back in and still have a presence in wrestling. But it does not sound like AEW is the place for CM Punk. It just doesn't. And that's the reality, regardless of who's at fault. So that situation's a mess. We'll continue to monitor it, but we'll be watching All Out together this Sunday to find out if CM Punk is actually going to be on this card, because based on the build, it was looking like they were going to have a CM Punk and Ricky Starks strap match or something like that on All Out, right? and that seems to be up in the air or just completely removed from the card, and that sucks. So we'll see what happens tomorrow night on Collision. Like I said, John Cena is going to be returning to SmackDown tonight, and there has been word that and rumors that he might announce himself as the host for WWE Payback tomorrow night. So that's kind of cool. We're going to see John Cena on TV in WWE for the next several weeks. I would like to see him maybe get involved with Austin Theory somehow. Maybe I don't know, John Cena, Rey Mysterio versus Austin Theory and Grayson Waller match or something like that. Get some sort of a pin on Austin Theory and get that WrestleMania win back. I'd like to see that. And like I said, tomorrow night on Collision, we have Dennis Rodman returning to the United Center. So maybe they're trying to make up for the fact that they know Punk is not going to be there, bring in a different Chicago Bulls legend anyway, in for that. And Ricky Steamboat is also going to be on the show. And like I said earlier, Ricky Steamboat, United Center, Chicago Bulls, you got to play the theme. You got to play the theme. Serious, I think, by Alan Parsons Project. Play it. Buy it, Tony Khan. Play it for the loudspeakers. I think you should do that. Let's predict these pay-per-views before we run out of time already. I'm just kidding. We got plenty of time. Before I have to get out of here, if you guys could keep hitting that thumbs up button for me, I would definitely appreciate it. And like I said, join us this Sunday. We're going to be doing a double header because I'm not going to be home tomorrow for WWE Payback. I've got to work a crazy day. So what we're going to do is we're going to review WWE Payback on Sunday afternoon before All Out. And then for All Out, we're going to be live for a watch party. The links to both of those videos and streams are up on the channel right now, so they are there. Click them, save them, and I'll see you Sunday. Let's start with Payback. Actually, let's not. Let me cruise to the chat, make sure we're good over here. Okay, I didn't miss any supers or nothing like that. JT, All Out should be a Dynamite show, not a pay-per-view. Well, it's a stacked Dynamite. I can see how some of these matches could be on Dynamite for sure, but the whole thing, it's like 2 or 3 Dynamites worth. But I'm kind of interested in the Orange Cassidy and Moxley match. We'll talk about that one in a minute, but we're going to predict WWE Payback first, and there is only 6 matches booked for this show, including 1 segment. So we have Cody Rhodes on the Grayson Waller effect. I would assume that maybe whatever Cody Rhodes is going to do next kicks off on the Grayson Waller effect. I don't know if he's going to be feuding with Grayson Waller or if perhaps this is where you can get John Cena and Cody Rhodes face-to-face. Feels like Cody might be on SmackDown a lot now. And when we were talking earlier this year, how do you get to Cody and Roman? How do you do that? It seems like the only way to do that is for Cody to win the Royal Rumble because he's on Raw. Not really. What really is what in the WWE rulebook is stopping Cody from just showing up on SmackDown and challenging Roman Reigns? He's showing up there anyway, showed up last week to do the Terry Funk thing. By the way, I think it should be acknowledged that I would say 1 week ago, probably exactly, right at this very moment, it was last Thursday. I thought it was a week ago that we learned about Bray Wyatt's death, but today's Friday. We learned about that last Thursday, but that was the last Greg Balls of Fire last time we were here, was when that horrible news about Bray Wyatt came through the chat there and changed our lives forever. Crazy that it's been over a week now since that happened. But John Cena and Cody would be interesting. I just feel like that's also a match that should be built for a bigger show. I know they got the India show coming up, but that's not even going to be available on Peacock, I don't believe. And then after Payback, what do we have? Is it Fastlane after that? Does John Cena and Cody Rhodes really sound like a Fastlane match to you? So I don't know where they do that, if it's even going to happen, but maybe they plant the seed for a bigger match later. As much as I want to see Cody and Cena, I don't want to see it at WrestleMania next year. I mean, that would be a big match, John Cena, Cody Rhodes, if Cody Rhodes beat him or whatever. But, Cody, I think, has got to be winning the championship. So unless Cena wins the title, I don't think that's really a match they would do for WrestleMania. So maybe they have to get it done in a throwaway pay-per-view in September or October. Maybe that's what they're doing. Or maybe they're going to be compadres for the next 7 weeks. Like maybe have some tags together, John Cena and Cody Rhodes versus so-and-so. And then maybe some sort of a turn on John Cena's final. No, neither one of these guys are going to turn. They're all ultra baby faces. But maybe on John Cena's final night, There's a little promo between Cody and Cena, and Cody thanks Cena for the matches and appreciates him being here and issues a challenge. Next time you come back, whenever that is, I want Cody Rhodes and John Cena one-on-one. They shake hands and agree to do it, and then we just have to wait for that day to come. And maybe that will be after WrestleMania 40 when Cody Rhodes is champion. Maybe. I don't know. Just a thought. So Cena's probably going to be at Payback tomorrow. Cody's going to be on the Grayson Waller effect. And since Cody really doesn't have a true ongoing feud at the moment, I feel like whatever he's going to be doing should kick off right here, because if there's one thing that scares me, it's seeing Cody directionless. So let's get on the Cody ball there, WWE. You guys are all about him. Now he's on talk show segment. So figure it out. We have LA Knight taking on The Miz. Come on. We know. Say it with me now. LA Knight. Yeah. Trish and Becky in the steel cage. Becky. It's got to be Becky, right? It has to be Becky. Becky, I think, will end this. I'm hoping this match is good. I think these two need a good match. This whole feud has been shit, and I hate to say that because Trish Stratus is my favorite women's wrestler of all time. Becky is one of my favorites. I like her. Don't love her, but I do like her a lot. And I thought this feud would be great. I thought it would be money. I thought they would have a great summer that would culminate in a loser leaves town match at WrestleMania and Trish would officially retire. And it was literally the complete opposite of that. Last week on Raw, last Monday, was a very good match, Falls Count Anywhere match between Becky and Zoe. Very good stuff from both of them. Becky had the very nice emotional breakdown after the match, holding up the Bray Wyatt armband, and I feel so bad and mad at myself for missing that because I was doing the Raw review on Monday. But generally at the end of Raw, you can start telling when things are wrapping up. So I start turning my lights on and getting ready. So as that match is finishing up, I only kind of got one eye on it. And as soon as Trish gets knocked off the thing, goes through the table, and they go into the finish there with the manhandle slam to Zoe through the table in the pin, that was my cue. As soon as I saw the pin, I'm like, all right, that's it. My lights are on. I got my shit and getting straight and focusing on my camera and stuff. And I'm not even looking at the screen with Becky Lynch holding up the thing and really, really sobbing heavily. And then there was footage released after where she stayed sitting there right where she was sobbing, and talked to the audience a little bit and talked about Bray Wyatt and told a story about him helping her learn how to set up tables and things like that, and how caring and gentle and what a good, just kind-hearted human being he was. And you could see how, for Becky and a lot of people that knew him, especially those that came through the NXT system with him, which does consist of a whole hell of a lot of people on that WWE roster right now. Think about how many people are there that were in NXT with Bray Wyatt or on the main roster. When they're first starting out, this is river dancing Becky Lynch and Husky Harris here we're talking about. They go way back, and it sucks when you lose a comrade like that. And just to be able to see that pain and grief on Becky's face, almost makes you feel guilty as a fan for grieving for him when there's so many more people grieving even worse. But that was really touching from Becky Lynch last week. And she's got to hit a home run here. Her and Trish both do. This match needs to be good. I know WWE isn't going to do it, but let's get some color. Come on. Don't be pussies. Come on. Do it, WWE. Crimson Mask on Trish. They'll never do it. They're pussies. But if they did, I don't think Trish is going to be hammering skewers into the head of Becky Lynch like Moxley at All In. But I got to go Becky. She'll beat Trish here. And I hope this match is good. I hope they kick it up a notch. I hope it's maybe a little bit more gritty than we're used to seeing. I hope we have some decent spots, and I hope they really go out there and try to prove themselves, because the two of them might have something to prove. They were bumped, so to speak, even though the match was never announced. They were bumped from SummerSlam, no matter what Triple H wants to say. So the two of them should go out there and show Triple H how stupid it was of him to bump that match from SummerSlam. That's what I'm hoping we get out of those two. But I'm going Becky all the way there. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn defending the tag team championships against Damian Priest and Finn Balor. I am not ready to see Owens and Zayn drop these belts. They still haven't. They did the women's belt. They did Roman's belt. They've done all this shit. They still have not figured out what they're doing with these red and blue fucking championships. Is there one tag team champions, or are there two? Make up your mind. I think it's idiotic for these guys to be running out there with two belts, even though Sammy does wear them both pretty pretty snazzily. I still think it's too much. You need to consolidate them and do a world tag team thing. But part of me thinks the reason they haven't done that is because they do, in fact, intend on keeping championships on both brands. So maybe they're waiting for when Owens and Zayn feud with the Street Profits. I could see Cody. That would actually be pretty good, actually. You have Cody and teaming up with Owens and Zayn, like he's been doing, but maybe facing off against Lashley and his boys. That could be interesting. So maybe the reason they haven't done that with Owens and Zayn is so they can separate the belts out, book a match between Owens and Zayn, and have the Profits win it, and maybe ununify them. I don't know, but I think since we've seen so much cross promotion between brands already after the stupid draft, there really is no reason, if you're going to do that, to have two sets of tag team titles. Just have one and let them float. How hard is this to figure out? I think it would be much more fun if they did that. It would make the tag team scene more interesting with just one set of tags, and just do that. But in the meantime, Owens and Zayn, I think, need to remain champions, and whatever happens when they drop it needs to kind of be a big deal. Like, basically, I just don't see it happening here. Plus, with Priest and Balor, they're not getting along. They're being lectured by Mommy every week. And, of course, that little fucker JD is in the middle of this, too. And he's getting too much involved, and he's going to get involved here, and he's probably going to cost them the victory. So I'm going to go with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn to retain over Damian Priest and Finn Balor. And since Priest and Finn Balor are going to lose, ain't no way Rhea Ripley's losing. Ripley over Raquel Rodriguez, 100%. She's going to win that and retain the title. I would be fine if this is a program between the two. So if you want to book a finish here where Ripley barely escapes, or maybe you even do a DQ or a count out or something like that, I'm cool. All I know is Mommy has got her belt when this show is over. So they could book another one here. They probably are. They've been playing up the history between these two, how long they've known each other, both coming up through the ranks together. And they have a long history. And Raquel, I really like her. I've liked her ever since NXT, but I've liked her the best when she was a heel. I just think just focusing on her being nice and smiling is not who she needs to be. She needs to be a killer because she's big and strong. Let her kill people. She's got a good look too. She's hot. She's got everything there. But I think just an edgy character for her would be kind of more hot. You know what I mean? Like than the nice person she's being. I liked her being a Test or a Kevin Nash in the women's division. I like that. Or even a Scott Hall maybe, who I think. No, I'm trying to think who Sol Ruka would be. She's tall too. But I would rather see that from Raquel. Maybe this feud with Ripley is what brings that out of her ultimately. So if you want to do multiple matches here between the two, you probably are, because you probably should, because they have been building this issue for a while. So I don't know if it's going to be a straight Ripley clean win here, because if it is, where do you go from there? So I think you got to do a finish here where Ripley leaves with the championship, but you get a rematch on Raw or at the next pay-per-view or in India or something. So Ripley retains, but she might not win. It might be a DQ or something like that. But I think she retains. She probably will win, but I don't know. I'm talking too much about that match. Ripley retains over Raquel. And in the main event, at least what better be the main event, the World Heavyweight Championship on the line, Seth Rollins against Shinsuke Nakamura. I'm loving what they're doing with Shinsuke. Loving it. But is this where Seth drops the belt? God, I would love for Nakamura to be champion. I would love nothing more than to predict Nakamura to win the title here. It's just something about it is telling me no, that's not going to happen. They've put enough into this with the whole secret I know about your back and the very well done vignettes with Nakamura and showing him training and talking to Seth. I think that's a much better way to present Nakamura and his storytelling than being in the ring with a microphone. You know what I mean? They're just doing this very, very smart. They should have been doing this from the beginning with Nakamura. But I still don't see him winning here. Seth, I think at this point, maybe should drop the belt to Gunther. Whenever you do that match, and Gunther's got a big Intercontinental Championship match this Monday against Chad Gable, where I still am thinking he's not going to drop the belt because he's not quite at Honky Tonk Man's record yet, but shit, they might do it just a couple of days before. That would be nuts. And then maybe that would piss Gunther off enough to go right after Seth immediately and go after that championship. But I think Gunther needs to retain this Monday, and maybe Seth, if he does get by Nakamura, which I'm expecting him to, it feels like it's Cody or Gunther at that point. How can you avoid not doing Seth versus one of those guys? So that's why maybe Cody starting something at Payback, a new feud, will keep him distracted from Seth's championship. And I've mentioned that like 2 or 3 times, right? Ever since this summer, I said, how do you keep, when Seth won the title, I was like, okay, once Cody is done with Brock and he beats Brock, how in the hell do you justify, if you're Monday Night Raw, not putting Cody and Seth together? Well, Cody said he doesn't want that belt. Fuck that. He's going to have to get a championship shot. What are they going to do? Offer him a chance at the title and just say, no, I don't want that one? How does that make your belt look? So I think that they have to come up with ways to keep them away. So if Gunther or Cody is not going to be Seth's next challenger after Nakamura, then they both need to either start something or continue their feud here at Payback. So that's why I think Cody could find something to do to distract him. That's what I've been saying ever since before SummerSlam. Okay, guys, I said this in my SummerSlam predictions, didn't I? I said, okay, after Cody wins, what does he do? How, if the plan is for him to go to WrestleMania 40 and be the guy to dethrone Roman Reigns, if that's WWE's internal plan, we don't know if it is, but if it is, okay, that's their internal plan, great. Then what do you do with Cody that justifies keeping him away from Seth Rollins during this time between now and WrestleMania 40? And that's what I've been mentioning time and time again. And so I think now maybe featuring him a little bit more on SmackDown, or maybe interacting with John Cena for the next few weeks, gives WWE 2 months of Cody doing other shit. And then when you get to November, you can worry about it again. And then by then you can probably stall to get Cody to the Rumble. So that's what I've been thinking about with Seth and his championship, how long he's going to hold this thing. Is Seth going to carry it all the way into WrestleMania? Maybe they want their first run with the title to be a lengthy one just to get it off on the right foot. But at the same time, we have a lot of long-running champions in the company right now. And, championship changes are good. And I think one thing that is pretty safe to say about Triple H is that he does not seem to hot potato belts, does he? I mean, think about all the current runs in the company right now. The only one that recently changed was the U.S. title, but everybody else has had their belts for a pretty good amount of time. Well, Io Sky, I guess, but think of the runs, the Gunther, Rhea Ripley, even Owens and Zayn, ever since WrestleMania. And then, of course, Roman, who just passed 3 years a couple of days ago. It's been now 3 years since he beat, The Fiend and Braun Strowman. And that's kind of crazy. The person to hold that championship, technically, before the person that held it before Roman Reigns, was Bray Wyatt. Even though that championship kind of doesn't exist anymore, it's been swallowed into the WWE Undisputed Universal Ass Boy title, whatever it's called now. But we've had a lot of long runs, and Roman just surpassing 3 years is mind-blowing to me, because it's been since Hogan. It's been since Hogan since we've had this run. So if this is in Hogan terms, 3 years after Hogan won the title, he would have been just a couple of months away from WrestleMania 3. Won it in January of 84. 3 years later, January of 87, he would have been heading right into his match with Andre around this time. And he would continue to hold the belt for another year after that before dropping it on TV on NBC in 88. But that's just mind-blowing. Like, 3 years is crazy. The way the business moves now, the pace that it moves. Long title runs, multiple years, half a decade long title runs weren't even that odd back in the day because of the pace of the business and the accessibility of it and stuff. But now, with a million different wrestling promotions and 67 hours of brand new live TV per week from a million different entities, and, championships being made left and right, it's crazy. So the fact that something like that is being able to be accomplished in 2023 is pretty crazy. So congrats to Roman Reigns. As much as I love you, I don't think I can handle you going 4 unless WWE really wants him to break Hogan's record or something. We have another year of this shit. That means he's got to survive WrestleMania 40 as well. We got to see him beat Cody again. Can we really take that? I think 3, he's not going to make it to 4. I think Roman, this is the last milestone he'll make. It's 3 years. He'll make it about 3.5. hopefully to WrestleMania 40, and that's where his reign ends. It has to. How much longer are we going to go through this shit? But anyway, we'll talk more about Roman Reigns later on this week. Let's pivot, talk about AEW All Out, predict this beast of a pay-per-view. My God, we got about 9 matches on this thing. I have not even looked at what they have planned for the 0 hour, the pre-show, so I have no idea. But I do know what they have planned for the main card. Let's talk about the easiest match. Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions Adam Cole and MJF are going to team up to defend their championships against the winners of tonight's Rampage Battle Royal. I have looked at the spoilers. Don't spoil it for anybody in the chat. Just be cool. Some people care about spoilers. I personally do not, so I just read them. But the winners of the Battle Royal, I will tell you this, will not be defeating MJF and Adam Cole for the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championship, so they're going to win that. We have tag team action, Eddie Kingston and Shibata teaming up to take on Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta. I don't want to see Katsuyori Shibata come in and lose, but we saw Blackpool lose it all out. Claudio even took the pin there, if I'm not mistaken. I think this whole thing has got to culminate with some big Claudio and Eddie Kingston Ring of Honor match. So I think I'm going to go Claudio and Wheeler Yuta to get the win here. I think maybe Claudio pins Eddie or something like that. Something happens, but I think Claudio and Wheeler will get the W. Or, well, shit. Hold on. I'm going to cut this and I'm going to paste it near the bottom because I want to talk about that match with Cassidy and Moxley. Let's hold off on Shibata and Eddie right now on that prediction for a second. Let's move on to Miro versus Powerhouse Hobbs. This one sucks because I don't want either one of these guys to lose. I think when you look at what they've been doing on TV, and we still have Collision tomorrow night, but I think Hobbs has been getting the better of most of these interactions with Miro, so it feels like Miro would get the win here. I'm not beating Miro at all right now if I'm AEW, but then again, I don't want to beat Powerhouse Hobbs either. So I hope we just get some sort of a beast fight here. Maybe not go to the level of WWE breaking the ring with Big Show and Brock Lesnar or anything like that, but definitely tear shit up, make some carnage out there, and have some sort of just a crazy finish to where, it somehow keeps Hobbs protected, but also highlights the strength of Miro. I don't know how you do that. I'm going to pick Miro. I'm not super confident about that pick because I think Hobbs winning would be perfectly fine with me. But I also think that this, and I say this a lot about matches, this should be a program. Miro and Hobbs should be a program. Tony Khan, don't forget about this one, because Tony Khan sometimes starts great and he doesn't finish great. So if this is a program, let them continue their story here and don't just have your match here and then just forget these two guys exist. Whatever the finish is here, whoever goes over, do another one. You have to do another one. Maybe next time with a stip, because I don't think there's a stipulation attached to this match, right? It's just straight up. So if it's just straight up, just have them just tear shit apart to where you have no choice but to make a stipulation in the next match they do. And maybe that can be on a special Dynamite or a Collision, some little catchy catchphrase, whatever town they're going to be in. If they're in Arkansas, the Arkansas ass-kicking, ass-spectacular match or something. I don't know. Something just crazy to where just weapons are legal, do whatever you want to each other, kill each other, it's fine, that type of thing. So you could just do a DQ. You could do a double DQ. You could do a double countout. I don't love those, but you could do it if it was a way to continue on and do another match. But I think you can do another match with these two without having to do a draw or anything. So I'm going to go Miro, but Miro just by a hair. We'll see. I mean, Hobbs could get the first win and then Miro could win the blow-off. It could be like that. Or vice versa. Or, no, that seems far-fetched. I was about to say, how great of a tag team would they make? But they seem to hate each other right now. Boy, if they ever teamed up, that could be something else. Our friend, Samoa Joe, our pick for Tony Khan's enforcer backstage in AEW when he decides to retire from the ring. I vote Samoa Joe. He's going to be taking on Shane Taylor for the Ring of Honor television title. Shane Taylor, I don't think is going to be winning that title back here like him, but Joe just lost to CM Punk. I think the story here is for Joe to have a lengthy run with that Ring of Honor championship, and Shane, it will not be his night here. So I'm going to pick Samoa Joe to win that. And to retain, Darby Allin taking on Luchasaurus for the TNT Championship. Man, this one is hard. This one is hard. By the way, props to AEW. Well, maybe not. I was about to commend them or praise them for making the International Championship, really on the same level as the TNT. But I think what's happened is the TNT has lowered. So Christian is doing a phenomenal job with the championship. The problem is he's not the champion. The way he wears the title and that whole shtick is pretty entertaining. And Darby Allin, I don't know how he's alive after some of the bumps he was taking, the flat back bumps he was taking in the coffin match at All In, the damage he has done to his back, his spine, his head, his neck, his elbows, everything. And he's just completely nuts. Normally, just the way he seems to always win, they put him over a lot. He's been TNT champion before. I would like nothing more than for Darby Allin to be TNT champion again. But, we haven't even really seen Luchasaurus do a whole lot with this championship because it's all been about Christian. And Christian has been pretty entertaining in this role. And much like MJF and Adam Cole, when you see something that works, maybe run with it for a little while longer. And I think you can find a way out of this match having Luchasaurus retaining that doesn't hurt Darby so much. He was in the fight of his life, very banged up after the coffin match. They won that match, him and Sting. So you have Christian get involved here or something like that. I think you can find a way for Luchasaurus to retain. And then maybe you do something like this. I mean, maybe you do something like, Darby, after Christian interferes and Luchasaurus beats him, Darby can get on the mic or wait until TV and do this and say something like, Christian, this is bullshit. You're such a dick. You come out here with this championship like you're the champion. I actually had the real champion beat, and then you come out and cost me that match. So since you want to be a champion, why don't you put up or shut up? Luchasaurus, if you're so confident in this guy that's walking around with your championship, why don't you give him power of attorney or whatever it is over that championship for one night where he can defend it, and you defend it against me? Me and you, Christian. Luchasaurus, you're banned from ringside. If you got the balls, do it. Where's your dad, Christian? And maybe insult a member of Christian's family that passed away, which is horrible to do, but Christian's done it twice. So if anyone in Christian's life who has passed away, maybe he can tell Darby that, hey, on the mic, piss on my grandma. Like she died 3 years ago. Take a shit on her. Just shit right on her. And then Darby Allin can do that, ooh, ah, or whatever. And then that was enough to goad Christian into saying, okay, fine, or Luchasaurus agreeing to it or whatever. And you do some sort of a match like that where Christian actually defends the TNT championship and he's allowed to defend it against Darby Allin. Wrestling's crazy, right? There's nothing in the rules. We've had tag teams fill in members and defend the titles in one night. So this should not be that far-fetched to be able to pull off in a story. Just get Christian to agree to it or get Luchasaurus to agree to it. So then you do the match, Christian versus Darby Allin. Darby beats him, wins the TNT title, but then Luchasaurus is like, hold on a second, this is bullshit. I never lost that title. And then you get to do another rematch right there. This time, Darby wins, with Luchasaurus winning here. So I think maybe if they do want to put the TNT title back on Darby Allin, maybe that's how you do it here. But I'm also thinking about people like Darby and people like Orange Cassidy, who might, be even elevated beyond where they are here in the near future, especially with Orange Cassidy. We've been seeing the work he's been doing, and Darby Allin's always just been one of their top guys. And especially with Darby, his size, he's, like I said on Sunday night, he's not Mick Foley. He doesn't have the meat, to absorb these blows and these bumps that he's taken. And it's just, kids are crazy. They don't understand how badly this is going to hurt when they get older. And I used to say the same thing about Jeff Hardy, but he's still in there and he's my age. So maybe Darby can do the same thing. It's just, I feel like Darby has a shelf life of max value. And I think he's at his prime physical ability right now. And if Tony Khan ever wants to do something with him, make him a world champion so fans can really see him at his peak Darby form, I think you need to do that pretty soon before his body starts breaking down or before he suffers some sort of a catastrophic injury. I don't know how he did not paralyze himself doing that coffin drop from the top rope on top of that coffin. Flat back bump from 9 feet up in the air? Just flat on his back, boom. And his little skinny ass. I don't know how I don't know how he survives that shit. So I think with Darby, he's you gotta, if you're gonna push him to a main event level, you should just probably do that real soon. Real soon, because Darby and Orange Cassidy and MJF, they got some great young ones there, man. Great young ones. Maybe they're not as big as Hulk Hogan, but shit, they're all awesome. This next match might be a show stealer. Kenny Omega versus Konosuke Takeshita. Been waiting for this one. Takeshita pinned Kenny at All In, so I feel like that makes this all-out match somewhat predictable. But I feel like this could be a big one for AEW. This should be a show stealer. This is one I'm looking forward to the most at the end of the day. I'm putting Kenny over here. I think he's finally going to hit that one-winged angel on Takeshita. He hasn't been able to do it yet, to the best of my knowledge. Finally nail him with that and pin him. And I don't know if that ends the issue with Don Callis or this takes it into another match. There could be a wonky finish. It might not be completely clean. There might be a rematch on a Dynamite in a couple of weeks with a stip, just like Miro and Hobbs could have. But I think this match needs to be mostly kind of clean, good, 24 minutes kind of thing, tear the house down. And Kenny shows that Chicago crowd what he can do. So I'm going Kenny Omega over Konosuke Takeshita. Really, really looking forward to that one. We have Bullet Club Gold taking on the Young Bucks and FTR. So we're going to have, I guess, Jay and Juice and the Ass Boys facing Matt, Nick, and Cash and Dax. Got to go Bullet Club Gold on this. They also got the win at All In, but the Young Bucks and FTR, clearly there's a very likely probability of dissension between these two. We already didn't get the handshake at All In and all that stuff, so something's going to happen here. Dissension. They're going to BTE trigger the wrong guy, accidental super kick or something like that. I think Bullet Club Gold is going to get the win, and here's another one. I think Cash Wheeler is going to take the pin. He got the pin at All In the tag match. I think he's going to take the pin here. So I would have Jay White pin Cash Wheeler. That would be my finish. So let's see if I'm right on that. Y'all remember that and remind me because I'll forget. We also have Chris Statlander defending her TBS championship against Ruby Soho. Man, Statlander came back, beat Jade Cargill, right? We know that. When you do something like that, I feel like you need to have a healthy run. You need to have a dominant run. I like Statlander a lot, but I don't know if I felt like she's been having the run that I was hoping she would have after beating somebody like a Jade. We still don't know if Jade's going to come back or not. Ruby Soho has had multiple championship matches. She's been in the Owen Hart tournament twice. She's lost her bid at the world title a couple times. She's lost both of the Owen Hart tournaments, and she's lost a bid for the TBS title before as well, maybe more than once. How many times has Ruby fallen short of winning the TBS championship? I know she's had at least one match for it, and I think maybe even another. So how many times can you continue to not win a championship? And I think now that the belt is off of Jade Cargill, there's finally a champion that's quote-unquote beatable, even though I love Statlander. And another big part of that is you have to think about Toni Storm and think about the character that she's doing right now. This jilted starlet or whatever it is. It's great. She's lost her damn mind. She's completely lost her mind. And she's brilliant in it. Oh, the thing she's doing with her hand on her chest every week. Sorry, I know that makes a loud noise in the mic. But Toni Storm, this whole gimmick, is tailor-made for a situation like Saraya having a belt and Ruby having a belt and Toni having dick. Or having nothing, I should say. Poor choice of words there. That's what you do. So I'm going to go way out on a limb, and then I'm actually going to pick Ruby Soho to pick up the TBS title. I think she's going to win the TBS championship. I think Ruby desperately needs a win in AEW. She came in as one of those signees that, she was choked up in her first entrance, felt like greener pastures. Tony Khan even paid for Rancid, because he's awesome. And he seems to really like her. I think Rancid's at least performed her to the ring at least once, maybe more than that. And Tony seems to really like Ruby and was happy to bring her in and all of that. And Ruby's good. So I just feel like of all of all the times she's had an opportunity at a championship or at the opportunity of a big win, it hasn't happened for whatever reason. I feel like this is her best chance. Like this is the best opponent for her to potentially win a championship or score a win against Statlander. Doesn't feel like the timing is off or anything like that. It feels like it could really happen. Statlander could totally retain here. Sure, no problem. But I feel like if you're ever going to put any sort of championship gold on Ruby Soho in your company, you're probably not going to have a better chance than this. And I feel like that would play in perfectly with the Outcasts, with Ruby and Saraya both having championships. Toni Storm stuck in the middle with nothing, when really of the three of them, she's the most talented. It's a great story. I'm into that. So do it, pulling the trigger on Ruby Soho beating our girl, Chris Statlander, for the championship. And we have, let's revisit the tag team match, because I only have 2 matches left. This one and what might be the main event, because you guys tell me if CM Punk is not on the show, and right now it's looking like he's not going to be, unless something has been reported in the last couple of hours that I've missed. But we'll find out, I guess, for sure tomorrow night on Collision if Punk is there or not, but it's looking like he won't be. So if he's not, and if there is no match with Ricky Starks, and there still could be, because I think Ricky Steamboat is going to be doing something with Starks tomorrow night on Collision. They could have some sort of a physical thing, and that's where Punk could run in and we could get the match. He could get on the mic and, Starks, I'll see you tomorrow. That could very well happen. I hope that it does. I hope that it does. And I hope Ricky Starks beats him in a strap match tomorrow. I do. Or on Sunday. So I'm hoping that happens. But if it doesn't, and CM Punk is absent from the show, then I think the main event needs to be Orange Cassidy versus Jon Moxley. I feel like they kind of set that up on Dynamite, which served as the go home, because Cassidy cut that promo to close the show, and it was one of the best promos he's ever cut, because he really doesn't talk on the microphone a lot. But after he beat Penta, and I know that match had some criticisms because there was multiple Canadian Destroyer no-sells and all of that. I know that bothers some part of the wrestling audience. It doesn't really bother me. It's just kind of been the norm of ridiculous spots and that type of thing, and it just doesn't bug me at all. But I do acknowledge the ridiculousness of it, but I'm a wrestling fan. How the hell are you watching wrestling not expecting it to be ridiculous as all hell? I'm not looking for my shit to be realistic. It's purposely goofy, and that's kind of why I watch it. So that stuff I don't get all hot and bothered by, because I got better things to do, quite frankly. But after the win, Cassidy kind of cut the promo, closing it with the great line, I'm Orange Cassidy and I have no catchphrase. Great shit there. And that definitely should be the main event, I think, if there is going to be no Punk. But before that match, we have Blackpool Combat Club in action. Like I said earlier, I was about to predict this match, but then I wanted to wait because I initially picked Claudio and Wheeler to defeat Kingston and Shibata. But I also feel like, to balance it out, should it be all wins for BCC? They win here and then they also win the international championship later? Possibly. So it made me kind of rethink that victory. Maybe I should pick Kingston and Shibata, but I think I'm going to stick with it. I think I'm going to stick with Claudio and Wheeler Yuta. Now that I think about it again, I'm going to predict a big night for the Blackpool Combat Club here. I think Wheeler and Claudio will get the win. If they win, that brings us to what might be the main event. Orange Cassidy defending his international championship over Jon Moxley. What a match this could be. What I do like about this match, and what does make this pay-per-view interesting, is that I don't know what they're going to do here. Me and Elizabeth actually have a differing opinion on this match. We watched Dynamite on Wednesday, and she feels that, based on what she saw on Dynamite, that Orange Cassidy 100% is beating Jon Moxley at the pay-per-view. I kind of feel the opposite. I feel like, Cassidy has been champion for a long time. He won that championship in October of 2022. We're coming up on a year. So AEW might want to have him reach that year. And if that's the case, Jon Moxley being the final big hump after all of these title defenses that he's had, nobody has been the caliber or the star level of a Jon Moxley yet. So beating him could be like the final big victory to cement you and push you to that next level. But they might want to push him to that next level anyway. A lot of times, before Bret Hart became WWE champion, he lost the championship to the Intercontinental Championship to Davey Boy Smith. We've seen that stuff happen a lot. Cassidy, A lot of people don't like him for the hands in the pockets thing, but for the same reasons I said earlier, I do not have time to fucking nitpick and cherry pick what I'm going to accept in pro wrestling or not. Like whatever you don't like and don't like whatever you don't like, but don't make believe that what he's doing is illegitimate in any way. It's fucking professional wrestling. Kane lit a production guy on fire with a lightning bolt from his hand. Let's not pretend that putting your hands in your pockets discredits wrestling in some way, you fucking dumbasses. So Orange Cassidy bothers me in no way, shape, or form whatsoever. I think he's a great talent. He's a great worker. And guess what, haters? He's over. Yeah, he is. Because if he wasn't, he wouldn't be being used, utilized, and winning the way he is. It's science, math, simple, very easy to understand stuff here that seems to go over the heads of y'all. But Cassidy is great. He's awesome. His matches have been ridiculous in the fact that he takes so much punishment. Darby Allin level punishment here, keeps kicking out. And I agree, some of the kickouts are ridiculous. Sometimes when he should be dead, he's kicking out. But a lot of times Hogan should have been dead. He was kicking out too. So it's fine with me. I don't really care, even though, sure, I acknowledge that kicking out after a pile driver from the rafters is a little bit absurd, but that's wrestling. That's the era we're in now. It's not 1983. It's never going to be in 1983 again. So get used to it. And they have really been telling the story of him being able to survive just about everything and getting these crazy freak pins at the end of his matches after just getting annihilated the whole time. Now he's going face to face with Jon Moxley. So what do you do here? Does Orange Cassidy continue his run and take it into October and become a year-long international champion? Or do you elevate this title even more by having it on a guy like Cassidy who held it for 10 months and then lost it to a former world champion in your company? This would be like, Ric Flair winning the US title after he had runs with the world and stuff like that. So that actually brings that title up and elevates it. Jon Moxley's only going to be the third champion. We've had Pac and Cassidy so far, and now Moxley, and we know what a juggernaut he can be. And the runs that he's gone on, going unpinned there for like a year or whatever it was in the company, he's an extremely strong, credible, and formidable opponent to pass that belt to if your plan is to move Cassidy up to the next level. So if Tony Khan is recognizing how popular Cassidy is, he got the big promo the other night, and they want to maybe put him in a world title program or have him work higher up on the card, losing this championship first might be something they do. And you can't really think of a stronger, more formidable opponent than Mox to where if he beats Cassidy, it's not gonna de-elevate him in any way. He's not gonna lose steam losing to Moxley, especially if he goes out there and gives Moxley the fight of his life, and plus a lot like Darby Allin, which is why I think he might fall short to Luchasaurus. Cassidy's body is so banged up and broken up. Not that Moxley's isn't either. Dude took skewers to the head and still had time to make an indie event last night. Popped up in front of like 16 people in like North Carolina somewhere. So Moxley's just doing whatever. And he could be too much. Cassidy could finally succumb to that. And I think it would be cool to see Moxley as the international champion. Why not? Why not? And maybe this is finally where Cassidy loses. But this could also be, like I said, with Miro and Hobbs, and like I said with Kenny and Takeshita, and like I said with Ripley and Raquel, this could be a program. So Moxley could win the championship here, and then maybe Cassidy wins it back, or maybe Cassidy wins this match in another one of those freak pins, which pisses Moxley off, and then he beats the shit out of Cassidy, and then we get a rematch on Dynamite where he beats him. So it just depends on what they want to do here. It depends on what the story they want to tell with Cassidy is. If they want this to be the end of his international title run so we can move on to bigger and better things, then drop it to Moxley. Or Moxley himself could be that stepping stone, that final boss type of victory that elevates Cassidy to that level anyway. So I feel like either way, he could be moved up a rung on the ladder here in terms of, top guys that are going to be competing for the main championship. So I don't know who to pick here. Last night on Wednesday night, Elizabeth feels like was going to be Cassidy. I was feeling more Moxley. I'm still going to pick Moxley. I'm going to pick Jon Moxley to beat Orange Cassidy for the international championship. I'm not confident about that at all. but I could definitely see a scenario where that happens because of Cassidy's own words. My body is broken. My body is sore. After every one of these victories, the backpack gets heavier. So that story could be interpreted two ways. That could be a way of them showing just how tough this guy is, already beaten, broken, battered, barely, hanging on to this championship, burning the belt at both ends the way he's been doing, and he still finds a way to beat a champion the caliber of Jon Moxley. With all of his accolades and everything he's done, he was still able to beat somebody of his level, banged and bruised and broken. That would be huge for him as well. But I think realistically, if he does that, then who is the person to take the title off of Orange Cassidy? Who does he finally lose it to? I feel like putting championships on big names is not always bad. And does Moxley need the belt? No, but that's a new championship. Moxley's only going to be the third person to hold it. And I would think that Moxley might have a pretty damn nice, healthy run with that thing, too, if he gets his hands on it. And you could have three pretty nice-looking champions beginning that lineage of that title, and that's not a bad thing. So I'm going to pick Jon Moxley to defeat Orange Cassidy for the International Championship. And then if we do get CM Punk versus Ricky Starks, I feel like I got to pick Starks. Punk beat Samoa Joe at the pay-per-view, so I think he should lose here to Ricky Starks if that match happens, but it might not even happen. I think that was all of them. Did I miss any matches? You guys let me know in the chat if I missed anything. Yeah, JT, I feel like TK likes Orange Cassidy, and he's over with the fans. He's very marketable, and he's got a hilarious, I love his gimmick. Elizabeth cracks up. Everybody talks about the casuals all the time, right? It's so funny how the haters can keep mentioning the casuals all the time when the casuals are the people that are going to find Orange Cassidy the most entertaining because he's funny. The one firework going off is fucking hilarious. A casual fan isn't going to be disgusted by what they see from Orange Cassidy. They're going to laugh. It's only the shithead fucking wrestling fans that take everything so damn seriously are the ones that are going to get pissed about it, or the ones that drool and whack off to everything Cornette says. Those are the ones that are going to have problems with that, but regular people, or people like me who just want to have fun and don't really give a shit, we like that stuff. It's fun. It's entertaining. And I've been watching wrestling for 4+ decades, longer than many people that complain about this stuff. And I can attest that wrestling has been purposely goofy for just about the entire time I've been alive. It's like they've been going out of their way to make themselves as ridiculous as possible. And now all of a sudden we're going to have a problem with that. Get out of here. Guys were getting lit on fire with lightning bolts, and Ultimate Warrior got bit by a cobra, and we squashed Damien, and fucking Nails broke out of jail. Come on. So that's it. Those are my predictions there for Payback and All Out. Let's just do a quick recap for those of you just tuning in. For Payback, I've got... Did I predict Rey? I did not predict Rey Mysterio and Austin Theory. You guys might have reminded me of that in there, but I'm just reading through. I never predicted that match. Rey Mysterio defending his United States Championship at WWE Payback against Austin Theory. I forgot to predict that match because I was talking about Cena. I'm going to go Rey to retain in that. So my Payback predictions are Rey Mysterio over Austin Theory, LA Knight over The Miz, Becky over Trish Stratus, Owens and Zayn over Priest and Balor, Rhea Ripley over Raquel Rodriguez, and Seth Rollins retaining over Shinsuke Nakamura for All Out. I have MJF and Adam Cole retaining their tag team championships over the winners of tonight's Battle Royal on Rampage. I have Miro defeating Powerhouse Hobbs, although I'm not confident about that. I have Samoa Joe over Shane Taylor, Luchasaurus retaining over Darby Allin, Kenny Omega defeating Konosuke Takeshita, BG Gold over the Young Bucks and FTR, Ruby Soho to pick up the TBS title. I'm going out on a limb there, having some fun. And I have Claudio and Wheeler Yuta over Kingston and Shibata, and Jon Moxley to defeat Orange Cassidy for the international title. If CM Punk does wrestle Ricky Starks, I pick Ricky Starks, but I don't think that match is going to happen. And there you go. Those are my predictions in a nutshell. I got time to hang out and answer some questions if you guys want. Otherwise, I've got to get out of here and start my crazy weekend at work. Thank you to anybody who did remind me that I forgot to predict Rey Mysterio and Austin Theory. Snitsky punted a baby. Exactly. I mean, we could go all day. We could go for hours. We could have a 5-hour long live stream just talking about the craziest, most ridiculous shit that we've ever seen. Triple H got, you talk about a no-sell. You're going to be mad about somebody no-selling a Canadian destroyer when Austin lifted Triple H up in a car on a forklift and dumped it on its side and murdered him, and he showed up on Raw the next night? That's a no-sell. Or maybe it was the week after. Either way, he didn't sell it. He was back and he wasn't dead. So let's just not start pretending that all the shit started just with AEW, just with Orange Cassidy. Wrestling has always been weird, and that's why I like it. I wouldn't want it to be serious. You want that shit, you go to UFC, boxing. Doesn't look real. I know. Nothing does. So, yeah, all that kind of discourse was a little bit crazy. I don't even mind people that say, oh my God, that spot's ridiculous. Of course it is. But it's this pretentious belief that wrestling should be a certain way. These guys are killing the business. You had another company besides WWE putting 80,000 people in a stadium less than a week ago. I don't think anybody's killing the business here. So these things are the new style. A lot of the wrestlers coming up now, the newer generation of guys, all learned their craft mostly on the indies, where those are the type of spots that are the norm. You know, crazy, crazy, crazy shit. That stuff has infiltrated mainstream wrestling now, and that's just the way it is. It ain't going to go away. Nobody's going to come around and change the culture in wrestling and say, let's go back to the way it was in 1978. No, it's not going to happen. If anything, these spots are going to get crazier. If anything, the kickouts are going to get crazier. The no-sells are going to get crazier. If that's something that bothers you, you might want to find something else to watch as a hobby, because you are not going to like this. Hate to break it to you there, sport. Just the way it is. Anywho, birth of hand. How could we forget the birth of hand? Enough said. Good point, Aaron. Good point. Oh, man, I'd like to see Lashley and his crew get to moving here on whatever they're going to do with them, because I still feel like the Street Profits need like new music and kind of a new attitude, sort of, and they haven't really gotten that yet. But they're a good-looking group, and like I said, maybe they could turn out to feud with like Cody and Sammy and Owens, and then they wind up taking the belts from them or something like that. I don't know. We could see anything. Interested to see what SmackDown's going to be like tonight. It goes live in 20 minutes. I will not be home to watch it, so let me know how the show goes tonight as you're watching it. I'll try to eyeball it. I can no longer watch SmackDown on. I have DirecTV Stream. That's the streaming service that I use for like regular cable channels. And Fox's agreement has run out. So if I go to Fox now, I can't view the channel. So I'll have to figure out a way to watch SmackDown. No big deal. I can't DVR it either. So I have to catch the replay some other way now, but I will be doing my best to be eyeballing the results. Let me know how the show's going tonight on social media, if you don't mind. Whatever Cena might announce or whatnot, we'll talk about that. Tomorrow's going to be an off day because I got a busy one, but enjoy Payback tomorrow. Again, I'm sorry I'm not going to be up here for the review, but we will be up here on Sunday for a doubleheader. And then as soon as I can, we still have to resume our Saturday night's main event watch-alongs for the members. We're going to pick up with episode 5. I just need to find a day for that next week because once Labor Day comes and goes, then things will lighten up for me a little bit, and I'll be able to find a little bit more time to do this stuff. But it's been a really, really busy summer. So I'll look at the calendar here. This weekend, we'll find a date for that. I'll post the video. We had it planned for last Saturday, but we had to come up here. I canceled it to come up here and do a Bray Wyatt tribute instead. So we need to resume those. I'll get to those ASAP, and I'll let you guys know. So thanks for being here. Have a great rest of your Friday night. Enjoy SmackDown. Enjoy Payback tomorrow. And make sure you join me on Sunday for a very, very long